Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Confession. Story 1. I stole my friend's gengar in Pokemon the day before he moved. So basically in 5th grade I had this one friend who played Pokemon, like 70% of my school also does, and these were also the days when Game Boy Advance was popular. He told me other friends that he was gonna move houses. Nothing financial. His family just wanted to get out of there, lol. Anyway, young me saw this as an opportunity to steal his Haunter, which will evolve into Gengar if you trade it to another Game Boy. Usually kids in my school swap and return each other's Haunter, so therefore both of them have Gengar, so it was a win-win for both. I thought that maybe I could get my own Gengar if he handed his Haunter to my Caterpie. When our classes ended, I saw him in the classroom playing some Pokemon a little bit before he left. I asked him if he wanted to evolve his Haunter and I would return it after the trade. We did it, then I quickly unplugged his Game Link cable and booked it. He chased me while yelling, "Hey! You/Kadesra! What are you doing? Hold on!" And I ended up running to my bike and biking away to my house. His house was decently far to mine, so I did not worry about him going over to my house, considering he's gonna move. I got the Gengar and when I went to school he was gone now. Calvin, if you recognize this. Sorry for doing that. You were a cool guy. Sorry if younger me was a dick. Sorry. Story 2. I used to chase my siblings around with sharp objects. I used to chase my siblings around with knives, forks, broken glass, and other sharp objects when they wouldn't let me play Minecraft on our Xbox 360. I have no regrets whatsoever. Story 3. I lied to my guardians who saved me from my father about my academics. I, F16, lives with my guardians who are my maternal uncle, M46, and aunt, F41, after my dad, M48, kicked me out for attempting suicide. My mum had died 6 years prior, so I living with my dad who only loved my little sis and treated me like slave, torturing me as well and planning to sell me off for prostitution. My uncle and aunt were kind enough to take me in, but the kindness soon turned into torture as I was verbally and mentally abused, sometimes even physically, which led me to turn to strangers for help financially and wouldn't share my thoughts and emotions with them. I have no interest in studying and wanted to pursue a different career path, but never told them about it and always complied to their wishes of me graduating and later getting a degree as well. I was too mentally drained, and the loss of my mother as well as a rough and traumatic childhood was getting the best of me, so I lied and stayed home for almost a month and was happiest as I got rest to reflect on what I want to do in future and clear up my mind. Unfortunately, my uncle and aunt both got a call from my professor who revealed that I wasn't attending college for a month and even skipped exam, which led to a huge argument and me trying to attempt suicide once again, but consuming floor cleaner, pills, trying to strangle myself, drown myself, etc., which all failed miserably as it did nothing but cause me pain. Later my uncle felt pity and agreed on my decision to drop out of college, but my aunt only cared about the fees paid and is forcing me to continue my studies and drop the thought of having control of my life as I'll ruin it. So Ida. Story 4. I backed into someone at a grocery store parking lot and left. Okay. It sounds worse than it is, but I haven't told anyone this and need to get it out. When I first moved in with my BF, I was using his truck for a while. I went to the store to get groceries while he was at work so I could cook dinner later that night. And while parking, I backed into someone. It was a newer truck that was a little bigger than my BF's, but luckily it was just a little tap. Obviously enough to feel it, but it didn't damage anything on my BF's truck, or the other person's truck, and the other person wasn't around, so I just sat in the driver's seat shaking for a good 10 minutes and then went into the store like nothing happened. Still think about it anytime I park. Story 5. I set of a fire extinguisher in class as a 4th grader. When I was in 4th grade, I actually loved my teacher and my classes had my closest friends. I got in trouble for talking too much and got moved to the back corner of the room by myself so I wouldn't interrupt anymore. Well, I was bored, so I was curious about the fire extinguisher. So I pulled the pin out and pushed down on the lever and set it off. We had to evacuate the classroom. Kids were crying and I got suspended for a few days. Story 6. I erased a few letters of artwork on the classroom whiteboard. Freshman year geography, someone wrote Mr. Teacher's name's class in giant bubble letters on a whiteboard in the back of the classroom. I sneakily erased the CL letters and the teacher didn't notice for over a week. I heard from a colleague who had his class in another period when he noticed, paused the lecture, and was visibly upset over it. He asked who it was but never found out it was me. Story 7. I'm overwhelmed by my work. Higher medical training, no life balance. I work weekend overnights in the ER Friday night, Monday morning because it gives a great pay bonus. I also am training to have an advanced medical imaging certification during the week all day Wednesday and Thursday, which is unpaid. So I'm at work 6 days a week right now. I only have 70% of 125 exams I need to test for my certification and I only have 3 weeks of training left because I'm leaving for 2 weeks overseas to go to my brother's wedding. I am not going to miss my other siblings' wedding because most of my family is dead and my dad can't afford to go. I am so overwhelmed trying to get all my shit done and get enough sleep to function. I need this higher certification to make more money because I'm single, pay for everything myself because any roommates have always burned me so I live alone. Everything is so expensive. I can't believe how much rent is and how high food costs are. I feel like a running on fumes and I still have a month and a half left of this non-stop BS. It feel like there is no end. I want to be able to enjoy my time off but I'm worried about just getting basic PTO and missing training for 2 weeks putting me behind. I can't sleep at night because I wake up worried and feeling sick like depression. I wish it was all over because I just don't feel right anymore. I'm burnt and sick. Any online hugs and support or sweet words will help. Story 8. My internet disconnected while on call with a customer. I work as a remote tax preparer for a large DIY tax software. I'm not a CPA. I got a call 45 minutes before my shift ended. This guy made over $1 million from various businesses. He wanted me to hold his hand as he completed his return. We're talking 80 pages of information. About 10 minutes after my shift should have ended, I kicked my router's power cord out of the wall. Whoops. I feel slightly guilty but also not because he was too cheap to pay for a full-service tax prep and didn't actually have any real questions. Story 9. Stole nearly $1,000 from my dad 15 plus years ago. Guilt grew after he passed away 2 years ago. Not trying to justify it, but my dad was really abusive, which is why I didn't feel guilty doing it. I was 16, started driving and couldn't even afford gas while my job didn't pay me much. I wanted to have a wicked fun summer going to Six Flags and eat out. I ate out maybe once a year with my family. And since I have a car, I ate out all the time with friends and felt like a king. He passed away 2 years ago and memories came back. Edit. Thanks for the support, for those who know that we all aren't perfect. For those who think they are perfect, thanks for making a fool out of yourselves. Edit again. If you think I'm an asshole, this post is not made for you. Story 10. I lost a notebook at school that would get me into so much trouble about 6 to 7 years ago. It was a diary but I'd only used the first few pages before I lost it. I was so angry at my stepdad I wrote all the horrible things he did and wrote a help note in there with my mum's number, my address, and full name. I wrote how I wished someone could just come rescue me and get me away from this house and how he's a danger to society, not literally but it definitely came across that way. I was maybe 13 when I did this. I don't know why I did this. So embarrassing. Thankfully nothing ever came of it but I do wonder where that is because all the information in that notebook is still the same. Story 11. I skipped a lot of math in elementary school by tricking my parents. Okay, so when I was younger, for the most part, I was great at every subject. But I had a pretty bad learning deficit when it came to math. I was a very anxious kid too, and I used to bite my nails till they bled and pull out my hair every day in math class because I felt so dumb for not being able to get the material and too embarrassed to ask the teacher for more help. It got to the point where I developed an extreme avoidance of the subject. You see, math was the first subject of the day. So in second grade I decided that if I made it so I was late every day that I would be able to miss that period. My parents drove me due to there being no bus that came to our area, so every day I would set an alarm clock an hour or two before my parents would go off, put it under my pillow, and when it woke me up I'd go and reset my parents' alarm clock. It would be an hour and a half later than we were supposed to get up, and I would end up missing the first hour or two of school, successfully missing math. My parents started getting suspicious of why the alarm was being set later after a few weeks of this because they had been making sure to be careful, so I changed tactics. I started unplugging and replugging in the alarm clock so it looked like the power went out and turned off the alarm. My parents weren't suspicious of me for that, but my dad did get annoyed that our power kept going out, or so he thought. At this point the school started getting involved a little too. My dad started setting an alarm on his phone instead, and despite my last-ditch effort of having our cat destroy most of the charging cords, I was back to doing math and getting to school on time. This is when I started having almost daily panic attacks. My dad was unemployed at this time and my mom worked second shift, so this did not make them miss work, thankfully. Anyways, I'm diagnosed with multiple anxiety disorders and dyscalculia now, so I guess that explains that. My parents still don't know, or at least they pretend they don't know, about this and just wanted to get it off my chest. Story 12. I use the excuse that I'm high for my behavior. I, 18M, only had weed a few times in my life. When I did, they were edibles and they acted more as sleeping gummies. I can't bear the thought of doing anything while high, so I go to bed. Weed doesn't make me crave food either like most people, so I'd pop one, chill for a couple of hours before falling asleep. It's been almost a year since I've had one, due to attacking my plug, but that's another story. I suffer from frequent episodes of dissociation and panic attacks that it has caused me so much trouble over the past few years. Granted, the edibles never helped with it, but I use them like a scapegoat for my behavior. If I ever get searched or tested, everyone will be in for a surprise that I'm clean. Story 13. I can't stop stealing from stores and I can't stop freaking out about it. Posting from an old throwaway. I literally cannot stop stealing from stores. I know it's wrong, and I've never done anything like this. I've never stolen anything in my life until a few months ago, when a friend, that I no longer talk to, showed me how easy it is, and how they did it all the time. It feels like a compulsion at this point. I have BPD and I'm extremely impulsive, and I have other compulsions and it feels the same as those, like if I don't do it, something's not right. And I'm not taking things that I need, I take things like clothing, makeup, other random things that could definitely wait. I do it and I walk out, and then a couple hours pass and I have an anxiety attack about it because I don't know why the fuck I'm doing it. I can't stop. And I can't stop freaking out about it because now I'm paranoid that I'm going to get arrested. It's to the point now that I'm not letting myself go in the stores anymore, but I don't know what I'm going to do when I actually need something like groceries. I've never done anything like this and I don't know what to do. I hate this. I'm terrified. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.